At a time of deep division in today's society, we must come together for humanity's sake. On Can We Talk 360, we strive to stimulate an authentic conversation on issues that affect all of us in an environment of tolerance. I am Eugene Pettis, attorney and community servant. Tune into our discussion to foster a greater awareness of yourself and others. Let's discover how there is strength in our differences and an abundance of possibilities when we stand together as one humanity. Welcome to Can We Talk 360. I'm excited today to have Mr. Delvin Rogers. Full disclosure, Delvin is my nephew, and I could not be more excited and proud to interview him on the work that he is doing. Welcome, Delvin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Delvin, I know you graduated from Florida Memorial in 2004. What did you graduate? What degrees did you graduate with?
My degree was professional and leadership studies.
And tell us, where did you take those skills and knowledge once you graduated?
Well, once I graduated from Florida Memorial, and with professional leadership studies degree, that was just a combination of education courses and English courses combined. So with that knowledge and expertise from those classes, what I wanted to do was always teach, but I didn't automatically go right into teaching. So what I did first was I did substitute teaching. Then I did a little mentoring. And then I started working with the school board, first with Miami-Dade County, and then I transitioned to Broward County. But before that, I started working at the juvenile detention center. And with that, I still was able to work with youth, but just in a different capacity. So I did that for 5 years. And then I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and apply with Broward County School Board. And when I started that, I began with behavioral specialists. So with that, I would work with students who, had poor attendance, low scoring test scores, and poor grades. And from there, I just wanted to, continue to rise, continue to use that expertise. And then I started preparing myself for the different things I needed to do to teach. And then that's what led me here to working at Franklin Academy K through 8.
We're in a time where our education, public education, is under so many challenges, and it's always a need for more dedicated teachers. What drew your attention? What is it that led you to know, I want to be a teacher?
I think it all started, when I was smaller, and it's funny because my brother and I, we talk about this all the time, because supposedly I told him at a young age that I wanted to be a teacher, and it just, stuck with me because all the jobs that I've had, have been working with youth in some type of capacity. So, I just, at first I, tried to run away from being in the, in the actual classroom. But I said, this is something that I'm good at. This is something that I know I want to do, and, I went for it. But I feel as though that's my passion. That's where I belong. And that's what drew me here.
What is it that, to get even more focused, what is it that led you to trying to impact the lives of our youth?
Well, just the different capacities that I've been in, and the different jobs that I've had, and it's just, it gave me that passion to, want to do more. So, for instance, working with juveniles in the detention center, and you want to, give them the best advice that you can with the circumstances that they're in, so I always found myself drawn to wanting to just be that person to want to help each youth that I come across. And, just teaching is a great reward from that, just giving kids that knowledge and understanding of, wanting to achieve and wanting to do their very best. And, I have that great feeling knowing that I had a part of that. So
that's great. And you're currently, is it a K through 5 specials teacher at Franklin Academy?
Yes, yes. So what I do at Franklin is I'm a traveling specialist teacher. So I teach basic skills and communications. So with that, I'm able to go into each classroom of those grade levels, K through 5, and I'm able to teach a lesson for 40 minutes on things like respect, conflict resolution, empathy, any particular subject matter that I think those students would need to know as they transition to each grade. So I get them well prepared for the grade that they're going into, and I try and teach them things that they'll need to know as they navigate through life.
That's great, because uh, I find, and you're talking K through 5, K through 5th grade, even students in high school are lacking in many occasions communication skills,
Correct.
skills of how to express emotions, how to handle emotions.
Correct.
It's very interesting that Franklin Academy is specifically addressing those at such an early age, which gives hope for the future of that particular generation. Uh, so you're in this space, and did there come a point in time where you say, I see a niche need that I need to develop a business model to address that need?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that just stems from, working at different schools and not seeing that particular subject matter being addressed or talked about for that matter. So, I did a certification class on anger management, and from there, I said, okay, well, what can I do next? And I said, okay, well, being that I already work in the school board and I work with students, why not connect it with youth and anger management? Because not enough is being talked about with youth about how to control their anger, conflict resolution, and things like that. So I saw an open lane and I said, okay, well, I'll just use all of the expertise and the knowledge that I already know to try and, come in and impact students with helping them, how to solve a conflict. If you're angry, it's okay to be angry, but, you have to have that self-control. So, as I learned a little more and did research and things like that, I said, this is the perfect lane for me.
That's awesome. And did you start your own consulting business?
Yes, in a way, I went ahead and made it into an LLC. And I said that would be perfect for me because that allows me to, outside of teaching, to go into different organizations and programs and let them know, or we can, partner up and have a partnership as to what I'm doing and what I'm doing in the community as to trying to get kids to understand uh, about anger management, learn more about it.
And the name of your business is C.A.L.M?
C.A.L.M, which stands for Control Anger, Limit Madness. So I chose that because it fits perfectly with, youth and anger, but at the end of the day, you want to try and be as calm as possible. So I thought it fit perfectly.
It's very, very insightful. One of the things when I read about your business, C.A.L.M, tell the audience about the I guess the characteristics that fall under C.A.L.M. You touched a little bit of it as self-control, conflict control. Is impulsivity one of the things that you're dealing with youth?
Absolutely. So, when I do groups, and I try and cover as many topics as possible, so again, we do talk about self-control and empathy, emotional intelligence, because you find that youth have so many, as we all do, human beings, we all have emotions, and sometimes, I like to target that particular subject with emotional intelligence because, sometimes with youth, they allow their emotions to drive them to do things that they should not be doing, and they try and sometimes justify being that, I'm angry, so I was supposed to do what I did, but I also follow up with, well, if you lead with that emotion and it's something that you were not supposed to do, you got to understand there's always consequences. So I always try and drive a lot of things home in terms of, truly understanding, your emotions and having that self-control, and also understanding, if you do feel a certain way and in terms of your emotional intelligence, you have to understand that you're sad or you're mad or you're frustrated, but you also have to figure out what is it that I need to do next to get me back to being where I know I need to be. So it's always, a driving force with, knowing about consequences, having empathy for others, that self-control, impulsivity, conflict resolution. So those are things that I really try and drive home, because I think that those are important topics, not only for them understanding it now, but it will make for a better transition when they step into adulthood. They're not, making those same mistakes that they would, when they were, teenagers. So I just, try and make those things that are, important as possible, for them to understand that now.
In your work, I'm involved in litigation. We call it multi-district litigation, where I'm a part of a team that's suing all of the social media companies on their algorithm that they utilize to get you hooked on social. And we've all heard and read about the tragic stories of kids even killing themselves due to the pressures of not knowing how to cope. One of the things, coping skills, how to deal with adversity in your peer group in a way that you can get through it, as opposed to succumbing to it. If I could, what is your opinion? What are the influences on these youth that you work with? Is it environment, that is home, community? Is it social media? Is it other things, or all of the above, that are impacting these youth to have these anger issues and lacking the skills of coping and controlling emotions appropriately?
I would say definitely all of the above. Definitely environment, definitely social media driven. And a lot of times, with youth, they're very impressionable. They believe what they see. They assume everything on social media is realistic. And I try and break down, what's real, what's not. Social media was built for, just a meeting space, not what it has become. But and again, a lot of times, it's environment also, parental guidance, and just, peer pressure, peer influence, and just things that they do see on social media. And I just try and say, not everything that you read or videos that you see, those things are not realistic. What's realistic is, me sitting here in front of you and telling you about anger and what anger can lead to, or with your anger, it's okay because that's a healthy emotion. But do you have that self-control? Do you have the power to be able to understand how you're feeling at that point, and being able to navigate and figure out, okay, well, I'm angry or I'm sad, what is it that I need to do? So with social media, you don't have to go that route, and express how you're feeling to someone on social media that you may not know, but within that hidden situation, that person is dangerous, and now you've gotten yourself in another situation. So it's okay to to talk about how you're feeling, but find another avenue rather than just spilling everything on social media. That's not the best place to do it.
That's a very, very important point. When you mention the parental guidance, I've seen schools and kids, everybody comes from an environment. We all leave a home, a place, and come into the education, come into our workspace. And there's influence by the environment that you live in. Oftentimes I've seen over my experience with education, Delvin, that they can't talk about it at home because home may be the problem, whether it's mom,
Right.
it's dad, or combination or other things in the home space. They're not they can't talk at home so many occasions. And sometimes when we get to school, the academic institutions are not set to give them an immediate space to to talk. I saw a charter school, I think it was in Atlanta, that before anything happens in the course of the day, there's a small group setting in which the children can talk about what happened over the evening, if you will, and get
Right.
it out so that when they start school, their minds are clear of what they were dealing with, and they've been able to voice their hurt, their anger, their concerns to someone, and move forward in that school day with an open mind, if you will.
Right.
How can we incorporate that, Delvin, given your experience with our schools, both at Franklin Academy that you're there now? Do you think that's something that should be a part of the academic process? That at the beginning of the day, these kids can, and certainly at these developmental years, they can talk to somebody before getting pushed for academics?
Absolutely. I think that should be incorporated at every school, because you'll find that allows kids to, let things out, because, they may have been harboring a lot, a lot is going on at home, in the community, what have you. And at the beginning of the day, if they can sit down with somebody that they trust and can understand what it is that they're going through, and they able to just let that out, and lower their shoulders, and have a good moment to where I've been able to tell somebody that I trust everything that I'm going through. Now I can go on about my day and be able to complete all of my schoolwork, have a good conversation with friends, respect my teachers, and things like that. Then you'll find that those school days will be a lot smoother, rather than the student coming to school with a lot on their shoulders. Some things might have happened overnight at home, so they're bringing all of that to school, and now they're taking it out on everybody who they encounter. So I think at the very beginning, first thing in the morning, that would be the best thing to do, and rightfully so. They may not give you everything, but at least they were able to give you something, and they feel a lot better. You feel better. They're able to, maneuver throughout the day, and complete and do everything that they need to do. And then you'll find that, each day is a lot different than the days in the past, because they were holding in a lot. So now they were able to let it go, and now those days are a lot smoother. So yeah, I think every school should incorporate that.
It'd be interesting if C.A.L.M could come up with a piece of curriculum to offer to not just Franklin Academy, but to the school districts as a whole, and to see if that could be integrated into a process. It may not be every day, but there has to be a point in a given week that the kids can talk. And the reason I thought it was so important of small groups is because people don't want to, none of us want to discuss our personal issues in a big group setting. But
Right.
a small group that remains the same, it develops a period of trust, that you trust. And the more trust you have, the more open you can be. And it will be interesting to see how that could impact not just the behavior, but also the academic performance.
Right. Right.
If you allow all of that stuff to be flushed out of the brain, I think it'll leave more space for absorption of academics.
Right.
So that would be an interesting component to look at. I have seen it, Delvin, where I represented Broward County School Board in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. I've seen shootings at many schools when I was representing school districts, where there's always a backstory of anger. There's always in those instances, people don't just get up one day and do those types of things. There's a history there. And many times the history has not been heard, appreciated, or followed up on by those that are the elders, if you will, the administrators, or the teachers, or counselors, and that's why your program, I think, is so interesting. Uh, give us an indication of a typical program that you do at Franklin Academy in trying to address these type of anger management type issues.
Well, again, so what I do is, like I said, I'm a traveling specials teacher. So my subject in particular is basic skills and communications. So with my particular special, that allows me to have somewhat of a free range to talk to K through 5 about various things, you know. So I like to drive home a lot with anger management, respect, conflict resolution, empathy, which is big, emotional intelligence, because again, with that emotional intelligence, you know, students come to school, you know, with a lot on their shoulders, a lot has happened at home or what have you, you know, and sometimes they don't release that. So with my classes, especially the fifth graders, I do like to sit down with them, you know, and have an open discussion. We don't always do worksheets or board work. I do open the floor for them to talk about the particular subject that we are talking about. You know, so if it's emotional intelligence, you know, I explain what that is first, and I allow them to dive in to tell me about, you know, their day, because once I have fifth grade, that's towards the end of the school day. So I allow them to open up about how their school day is, you know, what they're experiencing, how has the year been so far, what are they looking forward to for the next school year, their grades, how are things at home. I don't expect them to tell me everything in terms of what's going on at home, but I do like for them to just, you know, engage. So a lot of times that's particularly my day, you know, because I want them to engage and talk about some things that they're experiencing. And I also recently did an assembly with each sixth grade class. We went over, you know, self-control, emotional intelligence, and I kind of really dived in with them because they're middle school. So they're going through, you know, a lot of emotions, hormones, things of that nature. So I really drove home what is emotional intelligence to you? You know, how do you deal with your anger? When you get angry, what is the first thing you do? So I just like to engage and, you know, and have them to talk to me, and I sit back and listen, you know. And a lot of times when I do speak with groups, I put it out there, there's no judgment, you know, and I sit back and I allow them to talk to me, because sometimes you'll find kids that really don't want to pour in things that they're feeling because they feel as though, okay, well, he or she is going to judge what I'm saying. So I always start off with that. I'm just here to listen. There's no judgment. You can discuss whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, and we build from there, you know. So that's primarily how I go into groups and speak with my students and engage.
Is there are there, you're on your side that you've described for us, is there any ongoing counseling or follow-up within the school settings to
Yes.
follow up on some of these things, not just to have one conversation, and I'm glad you disclosed it, but a process to allow someone to step in to nurture these kids through and past their challenge?
Right. Well, the school does have two great counselors, and I, you know, typically piggyback with them if a student has told me something that, you know, is private but important. You know, I do disclose it with them, and I let them, you know, handle it because they're the, you know, guidance counselors. But, you know, if it's something, you know, minor, you know, and we sit down and we discuss it, you know, I feel as though from, you know, my knowledge and expertise, you know, I feel as though we can sit down and we can, you know, push it a little further in terms of, you know, how you're feeling. But I always do incorporate the guidance counselors, you know, because they, of course, you know, have that knowledge of, you know, incidents and feelings and all sorts of other things. So I let them handle that part.
What if you give me, if you can recall, some of your success stories that you've met a child where he or she was dealing with
Mhm.
angry issues, and you've worked with them and you've seen their transition into a more mature individual that can handle adversity better.
Mhm. Well, I'll start with because I work with BSO every Thursday. They have a civil citation
Sheriff's
program.
Office.
Yes. So they have a civil citation program, and these are youth who might have had minor offenses, but they were given civil citation to complete a program. It's like 45 to 90 days. So when I first started doing that, I was invited. I wasn't a regular. I was just invited to come out and speak to the group. And, you know, of course, when you sit down, you want to get a look over as to, you know, the youth that you're working with. And this particular young man, because I went around the room and just had them to introduce themselves, why were they there? But this particular young man, you know, he was very closed off, you know, standoffish. He didn't really want to take part in the group. And the more I attended, you know, I didn't push him to speak. If, you know, if he didn't want to talk, you know, I didn't push it. But as weeks went in, he began to open up, and I learned more about him. And the thing with him was he was a senior. The offense that he had could have given him a number of years in jail. However, his lawyer and the judge, you know, really cut him a break because he's a senior. He plays sports and had a promising future. And I think with his mom really letting the judge know what his character was, but he was just caught up in, you know, circumstance. He was given a break. But I say that to say this: the more I came, the more he shared. And he's actually getting ready to graduate in May, and he's going to the University of Michigan, but on an academic scholarship. It's not even for sports, you know, because he always had the grades, and you can tell once he started opening up that very articulate young man, very intelligent, but he didn't know who I was, you know, and he didn't want to engage and give me more than he thought I needed because I'm a total stranger. But that young man, very bright, and he's again, he's going to University of Michigan on a full academic scholarship. And just, you know, that was one of the stories that touched me because, you know, you don't always, you know, you don't want to judge someone on the mistake that they made. You want to look at, you know, their character and who they really are. And he allowed me to, you know, come in and get a good look of who he really was, you know, and that's one of the better stories that I have.
That's awesome. The is there any ability? I mean, one of the challenges I've heard in today's educational system is the lack of parental engagement, particularly for minority and underprivileged communities. And it's kind of logical. Folks are struggling to make ends meet, if you will, to put food on the table and shelter over the heads of their families. And there's not a lot of time left in many instances. So the parents are not taking as much time in the schools as probably would be helpful. Is there any effort in your C.A.L.M program to connect with the parents to get them to reinforce, if you will, some of the skills and characteristics that you're enforcing on how to deal with anger management?
Yes, I always, you know, try and incorporate parents to at least come out, you know, wherever I'm having group, at least to come out and listen to some of the things that I am talking to the youth about. Because I know that, you know, once, you know, certain parents get home, you know, from working, they're tired, and sometimes the kids want to engage with the parents, but the parents are just too tired from work, and then that's when you find youth seek conversation elsewhere. But a lot of times I try and, you know, have the parents to really come out just to have a sit down and understand the information that I am giving their kids so they can understand, okay, well, maybe I can apply this or that, you know, and maybe sometimes I could just find the strength to just listen first to what my kid is trying to tell me, you know, because, you know, if you miss that, now you've missed out on some of the things that your kid is doing on the side, you know. So And when I do ask parents to come out, it's mainly for them to not only see the information that I'm giving them, but also to give them information on how to have that self-control. Because sometimes a lot of adults, get angry for different reasons, and we have to have that self-control as well, and have that emotional intelligence, and not always take it out on the youth because something happened at work or something is happening about this bill or that bill. You have to also have emotional intelligence as well to be able to get through to your child.
Well stated. I mean, you make me think of the fact that on any given day, if you look at the news, you recognize that we're living in a mad world. There's anger all over the place. There's lack of communication among adults, among educated adults, uneducated adults. There's just a lack of communication. And in my 60 plus years of life, I think it's worse today than it's ever been. So with the work that you're doing, is there desire and plans to expand it into other schools?
I'd love for that to happen. I want to expand it into schools. I want to expand it into different organizations and have, partnerships and just build, because it takes all of us. I know it's just me right now with what I'm doing, but with partnerships and putting it into schools, and maybe one day having, more partners than myself, and just getting out there and getting this message that these kids need it, because with anger, if we allow it to just fly by and not pay close attention to what's happening, then we'll just have a bunch of youth that will transition into adulthood, and it's just more anger, which creates, more violence, more incidents. So with just partnering up and grabbing onto as many kids as possible to try and teach them about emotional intelligence and self-control, I think, we can get somewhere.
That's great. And that has to be an active strategic plan for you, because I think you're tapping into a space that's much needed. And I'm not a expert in the area that you are representing, but I believe that the failure of allowing those kids to get some of that anger off of their chest, for lack of a better description, let them get clearer minds. If they don't get that, if you follow that pattern, these are some of the kids that ends up in juvenile programs, ends up in jails, end up doing something out of anger, because nobody listened to them.
Exactly.
And it turns into a bigger societal tax, if you will, by ignoring it, than it would if we addressed it as a part of our curriculum.
Absolutely. And that's my whole point, just really just trying to get at those students who just want to be heard, and just want to get some things off of their chest. And again, like we said, sometimes it's home life, and they really don't have anybody to turn to in terms of their home life, because, mom may be at work, she works long hours, dad may be at work or may not be in the picture by itself. But, when they come to school, there's that anger because I didn't have anybody to talk to. So now here's that poor attendance or poor grades or talking to teachers in disrespectful ways and things like that. So we're sitting down with a group of students, and just getting them to engage, getting them to open up about some things that they're feeling, allowing them to understand about emotions and how you can express yourself. And it's okay to be angry. However, you have to have that self-control and impulsivity and how to solve a conflict. These are things that are important to me, because these are things that I've seen that students and how they react to situations, and I tell students all the time, you don't have to react to everything that's going on around you. You can ignore it. It doesn't take for you to show that much attention to something that's either small or it doesn't have anything to do with you. But now that you've put yourself in the mix, now here's the consequences, here's the issues that your parents are going to have to deal with, and now you're locked in with the principals, and maybe judgment, things like that. So it's okay to talk to someone. Again, find that favorite teacher, find that counselor, someone that you can confide in about what you're feeling, and eliminate all of those consequences that you ultimately get yourself into.
You mentioned earlier K-5, and you're dealing with issues of social media and how they're being impacted. How are the kids 5th grade and below being impacted by social media? How are they getting social media? How are they being exposed to social media?
I mean, the thing with 5th grade, when I talk to them or just ask simple questions in terms of who has social media, you'll be surprised at the hands that go up, and then I take it a step further. Okay, well, you have social media. What are sites that you're on? And there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, so that leads me to believe, who's allowing you to get on these sites, and most of them, my parents, or I sneak on, or I go under a fake name, things of that nature, and when they say fake names and things of that nature, I automatically let them know you're opening up dangers for yourself as well as your family, because social media can be helpful and also harmful, with different things that are going on in the world, and again, when we're feeling a certain way, you guys deal with emotions and you don't want to talk to your parents, you feel your parents are mean, or things of that nature, you need not go to social media to confide in strangers or people that you think you may know, because a lot of times you may think you know that person, but that person is under a disguise or a fake name. So there's a lot of dangers with social media, and I try and plug that in as much as possible, because it's not realistic a lot of times. It's gotten away from what the creators created it for. And I tell them, you have to be mindful. But I also say, 5th grade, you're very young to be engaged or on social media at all. So a lot of times it's just parents being very, very lax, and allowing them to just, explore, which is, not positive at all.
How could schools, Delvin, connect with you in your program?
Well, I post a lot. They can find me on Facebook under my name, Delvin Rogers. I also have a LinkedIn site under the same name, and my website, which is under Google search. You can go under C.A.L.M. That's the acronym form, C.A.L.M 247 LLC, and all of the information that pertains to C.A.L.M is listed there. My contact information, my phone number, and you could just basically reach out, or on Facebook you can go under my name and you can see different events that I've worked. You can catch a few videos, but basically all of my work is there on Facebook with the different organizations and different youth programs that I've worked with. And you can see, that I'm really passionate about working with youth, trying to give them as much information as possible about anger management, how to, have that self-control, how to solve a conflict, things that youth need to know now, opposed to transitioning into adulthood and not having that information and basically trying to fend for themselves and figure it out. And by that time, they'll be set in their ways, and they'll be used to doing what they think is right. So it's crucial for me to speak with you now about this, because the time is now.
I think that's well stated, and I thank you, Delvin, for sharing your story, sharing your passion. It's obvious this is who you are, and this is what you see as your mission. And I think you're at the tip of the iceberg. I think the potential for your program is endless, and more importantly, is needed.
Yes.
One curious point before I let you go. What's the 247?
Well, you want to be as calm as possible 24/7. So
Ah,
that's yes, yes, yes. So that's the 247.
that's the
Um,
247. See, I'm not that,
yes,
it's probably some lingo that younger folks would pick up immediately, but I'm
yeah,
glad I asked. That makes sense now.
yeah,
You want to be calm 24/7.
yes, yes. Or at least try to be. I mean, I know that's yeah, I mean it's not impossible, but you want to at least try to be, calm for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Our listeners, hopefully you have heard some inspiration from Delvin Rogers. That's with an S, with his C.A.L.M initiative. Next, we're going to have on Can We Talk 360, Joe Scott, who is our election supervisor. We're in the election season, and he has some critical updates and conversation that I think we all need to listen to ready ourselves for how to make sure our vote counts. So stay tuned for the next Can We Talk 360 featuring Joe Scott. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
The law firm of Halitzer, Pettison Schwam is a proud sponsor of the Can We Talk 360 podcast. Our firm handles medical malpractice, wrongful death, and catastrophic personal injury litigation. We pride ourselves in being advocates for justice on behalf of those who have been seriously injured. For decades, we've taken the lead in making your case our priority. It's who we are. It's who we'll always be. Halitzer, Pettison Schwam. Serious injuries, proven results.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Can We Talk 360. I sincerely hope that you were inspired to seize this moment in time and take real action towards change. Remember, all change begins with a conversation. Be sure to tune in every month for more fascinating discussions and motivational food for the soul. Please share with your friends, family, and colleagues. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Can We Talk 360, and visit us on the web at www.canwetalk360.com.